Hello, math majors. So for today's discussion, we're going to have graphing of polynomials using derivatives. So we're going to encounter the first derivative test as well as the second derivative test. So first step natin, recall muna natin that the first derivative of the function is equal to the slope of the tangent line. So sabihin na natin kung slope siya ng tangent line, if f prime of x, that first derivative is positive, ito yun. If the first derivative is positive, since this refers to the slope of the tangent line, pag ganun yung direction ng slope. So that's why the function f of x is increasing. On the other hand, if f prime of x is negative, that means yung slope ng tangent line is negative. Pag ganun yung direction ng line natin, pababa. So that's why the function f of x is decreasing. Okay? So ibig sabihin yung sign, S-I-G-N, ng slope, whatever that sign is, that determines whether the function, yung walang prime dito, the function f of x is either increasing or decreasing. So nakadepende dun sa sign ng first derivative kasi slope siya. Meron tayo dito greater than 0 tsaka less than 0. Eh paano na yung mismong equal sa 0? Yan. So if C is a critical point such that f prime of C is equal to 0, ayun pala, no, pagka equal mismo sa 0, critical point siya. Or di kaya f prime of C is undefined. But since ang limit ang ating discussion ngayon is limited only to polynomial functions, we will not be considering this case, yung f prime of C being undefined. So medyo marirestrict yung cases natin sa f prime of C being 0 as our critical point. Pero pwede rin to makonsider na critical point, no? Yung kung saan undefined yung ating first derivative. Okay. Okay, so ayun. So meron tayo ditong point or interval, tas dito yung f prime of x, and then the function behavior. So let me change my pen. Pili tayo ng color. So dito yung kunwari C, no? Yan. So yan yung point kung saan yung f prime of x natin ay 0. Ngayon doon sa interval niya na kunwari for x less than z. Yan. Tapos dito x greater than c. So nasa gitna yung c natin, ano? So ito yung less than c dito. Tapos dito yung greater than c. So ngayon kung sa f prime of x dito ay positive, okay? So that means the function is increasing. Tapos dito kunwari naging negative, so that means the function is decreasing. Yan. So dito increasing. Tapos dito decreasing. So that means at the exact point where x equals c, na-achieve niya yung kanyang maximum value. So that means f of x has a local maximum. Yan. On the other hand naman, kapag kunwari dito, kinonsider na naman natin x equals c. Lagyan natin dito pala x equals c. Tapos kunwari dito sa side niya na to, again, dito naman sa less than side, ay, ayan, kunwari negative yung f prime of x. So sabi natin, kapag negative yung f prime, decreasing yung function. Tapos kunwari dito 0, no, sa x equals c, yun yung critical point. Tapos paglampas niya ng c sa x greater than c, dito tayo sa interval na to, say this f prime of x is positive, that means magiging increasing yung function natin. So that means at x equals c, f of x has its local minimum value. Okay, so dito decreasing muna, tapos bago siya mag-increase, so f of x has its local minimum value. Okay, so please take note of that. You can take a screenshot of this slide, or if you want, you can pause this for a while if you want to absorb what I've been saying. Okay, so in a nutshell, ito po yung gusto nating ibig sabihin. No? Ito yung pinaka-summary ng mga sinabi natin kanina. So positive derivative means increasing yung function for this interval. Negative f prime means decreasing yung function. Okay, and then at the exact value where x equals c, Yan, ito yun. The f of x has a local maximum value. Very safe na sabihin local lang muna instead of absolute, no? Ang ibang term for this is, by the way, ang ibang term for local is relative. That means relative to its neighboring points, siya yung pinakamataas. Okay? Pero ang hindi natin sinasabi na for the entire graph of the function, siya yung pinakamataas na point. Kasi yung lalabas, kung for the entire graph, siya yung pinakamataas na point, it's no longer it's not just a local maximum, it will be it will be an absolute or global maximum value. Okay? Ayan. So, ang plural po ng maximum, maxima, no? Tapos, dito din, local minimum value ang meron tayo. That means, sa neighboring points niya, siya yung pinaka mababa, lowest point. Okay? So, dito, negative f prime means decreasing yung function. Positive f prime means increasing yung function. So, nag-decrease muna bago nag-increase. Yan, ganun yung naging behavior niya. So, that's why we have here our local minimum value. Again, it's safe to say local minimum or relative minimum value of the function. Yan, kasi lahat naman ng relative minimum ay yung mga relative minimum not necessarily magiging absolute minimum, no? Kasi pwedeng sa entire graph hindi siya yung pinakamababa, pero at least dun sa neighboring points niya, siya yung pinakamababa. Yan. Parang pwede natin sabihin kunwari, sa neighborhood mo, sa street mo, ikaw yung pinaka mababa yung house, no? Pero pwedeng sa buong village nyo, yung parang global, kasi to sa street nyo lang, ikaw yung pinakamababa yung house. Pero pwedeng sa buong village, hindi pa kayo yung pinakamababa yung house. So yung pinaka talaga sa buong graph, yun yung absolute. Let me take note of that. Yun yung absolute as opposed to the relative lang, no? Absolute or global. Parang from local naging global, no? Yun. Okay, so parang yun yung pinaka sa buong graph natin. Okay? Yung relative or local, dun sa locality niya lang, dun sa neighboring points. No? Okay, so yung second derivative naman tells us about concavity. Yan, concavity, parang na-encounter natin to sa concave. From the word concave, convex, parang sa mirror, no? So, di ba pag concavity, parang pag concave, yung kurbada. Yun, something like this, no? Pag ganyan. So, when f double prime of x is positive, di ba? This has something to do with the derivative of the first derivative or the derivative of the slope of the tangent line. Kaya it has something to do with how the curve is bent, how the curve is bent. Yan. So, pag positive daw yung f double prime of x, we have a graph that is concave upward. On the other hand, when the f double prime of x is negative or less than 0, our graph is concave downward. So yung graph yung nire-refer natin kanina yung function dun sa f prime of x, whether increasing or decreasing sa first derivative. Dito sa second derivative, tungkol sa graph naman, whether it's upward or downward, yung concavity ng graph. Okay? What do we mean by concavity? Para mas ma-picture natin, let's take a look at this table. Let's see be a critical point such that f double prime of c ay 0, no? Parang gano'n, no? Parang katulad din nung kanina. So, kung f double prime of c natin ay 0, yan, o di kaya ay undefined, actually parang ito, ininigit na natin to kasi nga limited lang yung discussion natin sa polynomial function. Okay? So, again, meron tayo ditong x equals c. Tapos, kunwari dito, x less than c. Yan. Okay, parang ito yung ating interval. Nandito yung less than na values. Nandito naman yung greater than c. Yan. So, kunwari f double prime of x mo dito ay 0. Tapos dito say negative. Tapos dito positive. That means your graph here is concave. Sabi natin, pag negative, concave downward. It's like this, pag ganun. Kapag positive, your graph is concave upward. Yan. So kapag ganito, ibig sabihin, meron kang point of inflection. So here, kapag ka meron kang transition ng concavity from concave downward, naging concave upward, or vice versa, pwede namang positive muna bago negative. As long as magkaiba yung sign nung nasa taas baba niya, your graph has a point of inflection. Or inflection point. Just don't forget the letter L dun sa inflection. Okay? So, ayun po. Kasi parang lumalabas. Kunwari, concave downward muna. Tapos, bago naging concave upward. Ayun. Kaya, lumalabas. Andito yung point of inflection mo. Okay? O di kaya pwedeng concave upward muna. Kunwari, ganito naman yung ating positive muna. Kunwari, no? Tapos, saka naging negative. Tapos, saka naging concave downward. Diba? So, in that case, ito yung point of inflection mo. Kunwari, ito yung C. Okay? Ayan. So, positive muna yung F double prime bago naging negative. Pwede rin ganon. Okay? So, ito pwede rin magamit yung second derivative test sa local minimum, paghanap ng local minimum tsaka local maximum. Sinasabi dito that if f prime of c is equal to 0, parang we can imagine a table. Say, ito yung x. Tapos, meron kang f prime of x, no? Tapos, kunwari, dalawa yung zeros ng first derivative mo. Pagka zero ng first derivative, it's either a local minimum or a local maximum. So, kunwari dito, x equals a, x equals b. Kukunin mo ngayon yung f double prime of x. Kanina ginamit natin yung first derivative test. Tinignan natin kung dito ay sa taas niya positive, yung taas tsaka baba niya. Pero pwede mo namang pa-horizontal yung tingin. Okay? If f double prime of x is negative, yan. Tapos dito, if f double prime of x say is positive, no? Ngayon, kapag dito 0 negative, tapos ibig sabihin ng negative is concave downward like this graph, no? Kung concave downward katulad nito, ibig sabihin meron kang local maximum. So that means f of x has a local maximum. Yan. Kahit negative siya, no? Tapos ito, baliktad. Yung sa positive, dito naman merong local minimum. Kasi concave upward. Kaya pag ganun eh. So nasa nasa lowest point ka. Yun. F of x has a local minimum value. Okay? Ayan. You can always pause the recorded video if you still need to absorb what I'm lecturing. Okay? So to continue, ito yung isa nating sinasabi kanina, no? Concave downward muna bago naging concave upward. That is one possibility as long as magkaiba yung sign ng f double prime niya before and after this critical value for your second derivative. Okay? And that becomes your inflection point. Okay, so tingnan natin sa ating mga example. Let's start with this one. We're given with f of x equal to 3x to the fourth minus 4x cubed. So our step 1 is to find the derivatives. Siyempre, ang crucial na kailangan lang natin, first tsaka second derivative. Hindi na natin kailangan yung upper, yung higher pa doon. So first and second lang naman. Okay? So first derivative, sige nga po, pwede nyo pong i-pause and get a scratch paper first para kasabay ko kayong nag-a-answer. Okay, make sure, o di ka pwedeng sa mind nyo, tingnan nyo yung if we have the same answer. So the answer will be 12x cubed minus 12x squared. Okay. If our answers are different, you can pause the video and try to process why we have different answers. Okay. Now, if we get the second derivative, differentiating this, we'll have 36x squared minus 24x. Okay, so that's for our step 1. Kuhanin yung mga derivatives. For our step 2 is to find the critical points. So, ayun yung ating f prime of x. Ang critical point natin, yung 0 niya. So, we will equate this to 0. So, we'll be solving for the 0 of the first derivative. So paano nga tayo nagsasolve ng 0? We do some factoring. So we have common factor of this is 12x. So we have here x minus 1. Tama, 12x squared, sorry. That should be 12x squared and then x minus 1. Okay. So that means this is 0 if x is 0. This factor here is 0 if x is 0. And this factor is 0 if x equals 1. Yun yung essence ng pag-equate natin sa 0. Diba? We will have a product equal to 0 if one of your factors is 0. Okay? Now for our second derivative. So nakakadalawang critical points na tayo. So dito sa 0 ng first derivative, ito yung magbibigay sa atin ng local minimum or local maximum. Hindi pa natin alam kung sino sa kanilang dalawa yung local max or local min. Okay? Now for our second derivative, di ba ito yung nakuha natin sa step 1. Again, we equate this to 0. Yan, critical point ng second derivative. Common factor is 12x. So we have here 3x, correct, minus 2. Ayan, equal pa rin sa 0. Tama po. So again, critical point natin, x equals 0 and x equals 2/3. Okay. So ang critical points natin, si 0, dalawang beses siya naging critical point, tsaka yung 1 and 2/3. Okay, so we're done with step 2. We have 0, 1, and 2/3. Ngayon, titingnan natin sa step 3, we make a table for f prime of x and f double prime of x kasi yung para magamit natin yung first tsaka second derivative test. So what we do is arrange our critical points no, in the number line. So ang pinakauna si 0, followed by 2/3, followed by 1. Yan. Tapos, ito yan, gawa tayo ng table. Okay? So, para maintindihan natin yung ating mga order, yung ating interval. So, dito, kailangan natin yung alamin kung ano yung magiging sign ng f prime of x. Okay? So, dito lalagay natin yung mga interval. So, starting with this interval where x is less than 0. Yan. Ay, sorry. Nawala yung less than symbol. Tapos, for this one, at x exactly equal to 0, yan. Tapos susunod na interval, x between 0 to 2/3. Tapos susunod na point, exactly equal to 2/3. Tapos dito naman sa interval na to, x is between 2/3 and 1. That's why it's very important that you plot your points, no? Para makita mo kung ano yung mga interval na i-consider natin. Then we have x equals 1. And then we have x greater than 1. Ayan. So yung f prime of x natin, 0 siya dito, kay 0, tsaka kay 1. Diba? Nakuha natin yun a while ago. Tapos si f double prime of x, 0 siya kapag si kay 0, tsaka kay 2/3. Yan. Okay, by the way, ito pala yung ating f double prime of x. Focus lang muna tayo kay f prime of x. Okay? So sa x less than 0, kuha tayo. Ay, by the way, please take note pala na dito sa first column, no, nag-alternate yung inequality, equality, inequality, equality, inequality, equality, and inequality. Or sabihin natin inequality, equation, inequality, equation, inequality, equation, inequality. Tapos dun sa mga equation or equality, yan, para ka-sounds like lang, no? Dun sa mga equation or inequality or equality, equal pala, may equal symbol. Nandun yung mga critical points natin. Okay? Tapos yung mga endpoints ng interval, yung mga endpoints ng interval, mga critical points. Wala tayo ditong mga number na naligaw. So si 0, 2/3, and 1, dun lang iikot yung mundo nito ng first column. So sa x less than 0, dito tayo kukuha ng random representative, random number representative dun sa interval na to. Say -1. So when x is -1, this is -12, minus 12. So this is negative. For x between 0 to 2/3, pwede tayong kumuha ng 1/3, no? So 1/3, no? 12 times 1/8, that's 12/8 minus 12 times 1/9, that will be positive, no? Correct? Kasi parang lalabas 12 times 1 over 1/3, 1 over 27, sorry, 12 over 27 minus 12 over 9. Mas malaki yata yung 12 over 9 kesa sa 12/3. So this will be again negative. Yan, naku, sad naman, no? Parehong negative. So it does that means hindi na siya magiging local minimum or local maximum kasi dapat magkaiba yung sign sa taas at baba niya. Okay? Ayan, using the first derivative test. Now for x equal to 2/3, you have 12 times 8, that will be 96 over 27. 96 over 27 minus 12 times 4 is 48 over 9. So again, mas malaki yung sinasubtract. So this is again negative. Okay. Tapos dito, you can verify that this will again be negative. Tapos pag x greater than 1, we can have 2 there. And this will now be positive. Okay. Now for f double prime of x, dito tayo tumingin. Again, nakuha nating representative number dito si negative 1. Representative siya ng interval, no? But it's not a critical point. So, kung negative 1 yung x, this is positive 36. Minus negative 24. So, minus and minus, kaya magiging plus. So, 36 plus 24 is positive. We're not writing the actual value, but just the sign, no? Take note of that, no? Yung sign lang ang kailangan natin, hindi yung mismong answer kasi representative lang naman si negative 1. Hindi naman siya yung mag-a-apply for all numbers on the interval. Yan. So sa 0 to 2/3, ang kinuha nating representative number si 1/3. So 36 times 1/9, that's 36 over 9. That will be 4. Minus 24 over 3 is 8. So 4 minus 8 will be negative. Okay, so ayun, medyo magkaiba. Kaya ibig sabihin magiging point of inflection to, no? So 0. Ayun, tapos pagdating dito kay 2/3 and 1, between 2/3 and 1, this is actually 4, 6. 4 over 6 para makakuha tayo ng number in between. Pwede natin kunin si 5, 6. Yan. So 36 times 25 over 36 is 25 minus 24 over 6 is 4 times 5 is 20. So 5 minus 20 remains to be negative. Okay. Tama po ba? Correct, ano? Tama. 36 times 5, 6 squared. That will be 36 times 25 over 36. So magka-cancel, 25 na lang. Tapos minus 24 times 5, 6. 24 divided by 6 is 4 times 5 is 20. So that will be positive pala. Okay, so at x equals 1, 36 minus 24 is positive. X greater than 1 is positive. Okay. Actually, kung medyo nahirapan tayo dun sa, bawa dun sa 5, 6, nahirapan tayo dun sa sign, pwede ka mag-proceed dun sa susunod na interval, no? Dun sa x equals 1 mismo. Okay? Kasi mas madali yun. So, kung nakuha mo dun is positive, malamang positive na to lahat. Kasi otherwise, kung may na ibang sign dito, that should have been a point of inflection in the first place. Dapat may 0 in between kung may naiba na sign sa kanya. Okay? Laging parang kung mayroong negative, positive na gano'n na magkasunod, dapat may 0 in between. Hindi ka positive, negative, kung gano'n na magkaiba, may 0 in between. Kaya ito, kung walang 0 in between, more likely they should have the same sign. Okay? Same as this one, more likely they should have the same sign. Kasi otherwise, there should have been a 0 in between. Okay? So ayun po, for our remark, this will tell us that the function is decreasing. Sa ano muna tayo, tumingin muna tayo sa ating first derivative. Tapos dito, decreasing din. Decreasing, decreasing, decreasing. It's referring to the slope of your tangent line. Tapos dito, increasing. Nag-decrease muna bago nag-increase. No? Tapos dito naman, concave upward, concave downward, concave upward. Tapos, actually dito din, no? Dito upward. Okay. Ayan. So, ibig sabihin ito, actually pati dito, concave upward. Pero dahil critical point siya, critical point, yung mga sa critical point, this one, hindi siya local maximum or local minimum, pero it's a point of inflection. Knowing magkaiba yung concavity sa taas-baba. So, this is a point of inflection or inflection point. Sana kumasya. Ayun. Tapos by the way, ito pwede nating pagsamahin tong symbol na to. Decreasing na concave upward, it's like this. Decreasing na concave downward, decreasing pero concave downward, paano siya? It's like this. Laging from left to right yung pag-graph, no? Tapos ito, ayan, magkaiba na naman, no? Ito, tsaka ito, yung concavity. So, second derivative, zero ng second derivative. So, graph has a point of inflection again. Okay. Tapos ito naman, pwede nating pagsamahin yung symbol na decreasing concave upward, decreasing concave upward. Again, it will be like this. Okay. Tapos ito, critical point, no? So, 0, using the first derivative test, nag-decrease muna bago nag-increase before and after niya. Yung before and after niya, yung titingnan mo kapag first derivative test. Okay, yung taas, tsaka yung baba. So, yung ito. So, that means local minimum. Pagka second derivative test din naman ang tiningnan mo, dito ka titingin. Sa hilera niya, sa row na yan. Kapag 0 positive, ibig sabihin, concave upward, local minimum din. So, consistent naman, no? Dapat parehas na ang result. So, that means, ay, burahin ko pala yung smiley doon. Kasi dapat nakasulat ay f of x or the function has a local minimum. So, function has a local minimum. Okay. So, ayan po yung kailangan natin sa step 3. Medyo matrabaho lang po ng konti, pero at least may direction. Okay. So, please take note of this. Very important po yan. Yan. Minsan tatanong ko sa ano yung behavior ng function sa ganitong interval o adi kaya ano yung inflection point, ano yung local minimum, local maximum, ayan. O di kaya saan concave upward na interval, saan concave downward na interval. Minsan tinatanong ko po yun sa exam. Okay, so ang step 4 natin is make a table for x and f of x using the critical points. So, ano yung critical points nga natin? Si 0, si 2/3, tsaka si 1, no? So, at x equals 0, this is obviously 0. Yan. Pag x equals 1, that will be 3 minus 4, so it's negative 1. When x is equal to 2/3, that will be 3. Tapos 2 to the 4th times 3 to the 4th. Minus 4 times 2/3. So, 2/3 raised to the 3rd power is 8/27. Yan. Magka-cancel to, tsaka to. Yan. 2 to the fourth is 16 over 27 minus 32 over 27. This will be 16 minus 32. So negative 16 over 27. Okay. Is that correct? So lagay ko po dito negative 16 over 27. Okay. Pwede nyo pong picturean. Now for our step 5, we sketch the graph. We're ready to sketch the graph. So ito yung mga nakuha nating values kanina. Ayan. Tapos ito yung interval natin. So ang inflection point ay ito. Ay sabi natin dito ay decreasing. Tapos ito inflection point. Tapos dito ay decreasing, ay increasing. Decreasing pa rin pero concave upward. Tapos dito ay inflection point din. Tapos dito ano nga ba? Increasing concave downward. Ay, tama ba? Tapos ito yung local minimum. Local minimum. Sorry, dapat decreasing muna pero ano nga ba yun? Balikan natin ha. Decreasing, ayun, decreasing tapos concave upward. So, decreasing concave upward dun sa 2/3 to 1. Dapat concave downward kasi inflection point siya. Decreasing tapos concave downward. Tapos dito ay concave. Dito pala yung concave downward, concave upward, tapos dito magko-concave downward. Sorry for the confusion. Kasi inflection point dapat magkaiba yung concavity sa taas at baba niya. So ito ay kung concave downward dito, concave upward tayo, concave downward tayo dito. So pag ganun. Tapos dito pa-upward. Tapos dito pag ganun. Okay? Kasi pareho silang concave upward pero ito decreasing, ito increasing. Okay? So tingnan natin paano natin siya i-graph, no? Unahin natin itong mga points na to. So ang ordered pair natin 0, 0 is here. Tapos 2/3, sabihin natin 2/3 by 1/3 tayo, kunwari. Okay, so kunwari nandito si 2/3. Nandito si 1. Dito si 0. Tapos negative 16 over 27, that is more than half, no? More than half pero negative. So kunwari nandito na lang yung iba na lang na ibang scale na lang sa sa y-axis. Kunwari dito. Ito yung negative 1/2. Tapos ito yung negative 1. Okay, so negative 16 over 27 is a little bit more than half. So yun yung kapartner ni negative 2/3. Tapos yung kapartner ni 1, si negative 1. It will be this point. Okay, so ayan, tingnan natin ngayon yung graph. Let's get a different color. Pinlat natin yung tatlong points natin, tatlong critical points. Before tayo makarating kay 0, take a look at this behavior. Decreasing, concave upward. So, decreasing, concave upward. Ay, sorry. Di dapat diretso. Dapat curve. Okay. Dapat diretso ko. Medyo nanginginig ng kaunti. So it's like this. Yan. Di talaga nagko-curve. Teka, ayusin ko pa. Pagandahin ko pa. Kunwari perfectionist. Wala siyang ikakapal. Naninipisan ako masyado dun sa pen. Pwede na siguro yan, no? Tapos, from 0 to 2/3, from this critical point to the next, pag ganito yung behavior natin. So, patuloy siya magiging decreasing pero concave downwards na. Yan. Tapos, kaya inflection point to. Tapos, this is another inflection point. Now, from 2/3 to the next critical point, ito naman tayo, no? Decreasing pa rin, patuloy na magdi-decrease, pero concave upward na. So, it's like this. Tapos, paglampas na sa 1, mag-i-increase na tayo, pero concave upward pa rin. Okay? So, it's like this. Yun. So, that is how the graph of this function f of x look like. Yun. So, that's how we sketch the graph. Ooh! Yun. Pwede nyo pong picturean for your reference. So, yung mga critical points. So, kung tinanong natin what is or are the inflection point, ang inflection point natin, ito, 0, 0. Kasi dapat kung point ang tanong, dapat ang sagot natin ordered pair, no? Tsaka ito, x equals 2/3. So, it's 2/3, negative 1627. Tapos, if we are asked to find the local minimum value of the function, what is the local minimum value of the function? The answer will not be x equals 1. Ito yung x, pero ang value ng function corresponding to x equals 1, value of the function corresponding to that is negative 1. So, negative 1 is the local minimum value of the function or relative minimum value of the function. Okay? Pero in fact, tong negative 1 na to lumalabas, hindi lang siya local minimum. It's also an absolute minimum kasi with respect to the entire graph, siya na yung pinakamababa din eh. Diba? Bongga si negative 1. So ayan, let's take a look at the next example. Again, you can always go back to you can rewind the video if you think you need to absorb the previous example first. So ito naman, yung example natin is 16x cubed minus 12x plus 1. Again, step 1 is to find the derivatives. Sige nga, hanapin natin yung derivative. For the first one, what is that? Yan. If you answered 48x squared minus 12, you are correct. For the second derivative, sige nga. If you answered 96x, you are correct. Very good. Yan. So tingnan natin ngayon yung ating step 2, critical points. So pag hinahanap natin yung critical points, we get the zero of the first and second derivative. Okay? So kunin natin yung zero ng first derivative by factoring. Kuha ko ng ibang color. So i-factor natin to, the common factor is 12. So we have 4x squared, 4x squared minus 1 equals 0. So this is never 0. The factor 12 is never 0. So ito na lang, no? Quit natin si 4x squared. So 4x squared equals 1. X squared equals 1/4. So that means x is either positive or negative 1/2. Yun. Tapos for this one, for the f double prime of x, if 96x equals 0, what's the critical point here? X equals, hindi na natin kailangang i-factor kasi naka-factor na siya, no? This is one factor, this is another factor. So x equals 0. Okay? So ang critical points natin, positive, negative 1/2, and 0. We have 3. So for our step 3, ito yung gagawa tayo ng table for f prime and f double prime of x. So again, ito yung f prime of x natin, tsaka f double prime ha. Okay. So ang table natin, magpo-focus tayo dun sa mga interval involving the critical points. So arrange natin, sino yung mauna sa kanila? Si negative 1/2, followed by 0, followed by positive 1/2. So if we are to make a table, again, mag-start tayo sa inequality, magtatapos tayo sa inequality. So first inequality ito. Okay, so wag na po nating ilabo-labo no, from left to right para organize yung thoughts natin. So x less than negative 1/2. Tapos x equals, di ba? Pagkasunod ng inequality, yung x equals, no? O di ka x is equal to. It's either x equals or x is equal to negative 1/2. Okay, tapos dito naman, between negative 1/2 and 0. Tapos dito naman, yung critical point natin ulit, x equals 0. Tapos dito, between 0 and 1/2. Tapos x equals 1/2 positive. And then mag-e-end tayo sa another inequality, x greater than 1/2. Pansinin nyo na yung critical point nyo, naiiba-iba yung location niya. So dito nasa right, nasa equality, tas nasa left. Nasa right, si 0 naman, nasa right, nasa equality, nasa left. Tapos ito din si 1/2, nasa right, nasa equality, nasa, hindi na natin siya ma-left eh. So greater than naman yung symbol niya kasi na. Okay, so ang f prime of x, ano nga siya? Ito. Actually, mas nadadalian ako kapag yung factored version yung gagamitin natin, which is 12 times 4x squared minus 1. Yan. So sa x less than negative 1/2, less than negative 1/2, ano yung representative point natin dito? Si negative 1, no? Yan. So in this case, mas madali itong unfactored version. So 48 minus 12 is positive. Ayan, by the way, pwede pala nating ilagay muna yung mga critical points natin. Yung zeros ng first derivative, si negative 1/2, tsaka si positive 1/2. Yan, isa sa kanila ay possible local mean or local max. No? Sa second derivative naman, isa lang yung 0, si x equals 0. Okay, so siya naman yung possible na inflection point. Ibalik tayo sa blue na pen. Ay, okay, so ito na lang darker. So, ito expected natin na pare-pareho yung sign dito. So, sa 0 na lang tayo kumuha, no? So, at x equals 0, this will be 0 minus 12, so negative. Dapat lahat to negative. Kasi kung may naiba dyan, dapat may 0 in between. Yan. Anything na magkasunod ng sign, dapat pareho or di kaya nasingitan ng 0 kung magkaiba yung sign nila. Okay? Kasi dapat merong naging critical point in between kung magkaiba sila. Okay, so yun yung shortcut. So sa x greater than 1/2, syempre pinaka-convenient na yung 1. 48 minus 12, that would be positive. Ayun. Dito naman, ini-expect natin ito ay pare-pareho. Pare-pareho. Kasi again, otherwise, kung hindi magkakapareha yan, may magkaiba, dapat nasingitan ng may 0 in between. Ayan, so for ito yung mga numbers na less than 0. Yan, diba? Mga nasa kaliwa ni 0, ito yung mga less than 0. And pag negative to or less than 0 yung x, f double prime will be negative. On the other hand, if x is positive or greater than 0, f double prime of x will be positive. Okay? Ayan, so using the first derivative test, di ba ito yung titingnan natin? Yung taas-baba niyan, yung taas, nasa taas tsaka nasa baba ni 0. So nag-increase muna bago nag-decrease. So you have a relative or local maximum. Using the second derivative test, pag ano naman yung tingin natin, you have a concave downward. So again, local maximum. Okay? So ayan, so here f of x has a local maximum. Capitalize natin para mas ma-emphasize. Tapos dito, tingnan natin to using the first derivative test. Nag-decrease muna bago nag-increase. So you have a local minimum. Pagka second derivative test ang gagamitin, pag ganito yung tingin natin, concave upward means you have a local minimum. So f of x has a local minimum. Yan. Dito naman magkaiba yung concavity sa taas at baba. So here the graph, di na f of x, no? Yung graph has an inflection point. Okay, so pag-isahin natin, no? Increasing tapos concave downward. Increasing na concave downward. So it's like, concave downward pala, sorry. So napa-concave upward ako. So dapat ay concave downward, pababa. Tama akong increasing pero dapat pababa. Let's use naman a different color, say the maroon. Yan. Increasing na concave downward. So it's like this. Tapos sa susunod naman, syempre, decreasing, tapos concave downward pa rin. So it's like this. Decreasing pa rin, pero concave upward na. So it's like this. Ay, decreasing pa rin, sorry. Decreasing, pero concave upward na. So it should be like this. Wala po ito. Decreasing, pero concave upward. Tapos, increasing, kanina decreasing, no? Now, increasing, pero concave upward. So, increasing na concave upward, it's like this. Pag ganun. Okay. Yun. Tingnan natin ngayon yung susunod, yung step 4. Step 4 will be to make a table for x and f of x using the critical points. So, ang critical points natin, si negative 1/2, 0, tsaka si positive 1/2. So, kapag 0, that will be 1. Yun yung mabilis, no? Tapos, kapag negative 1/2, that will be 16 times negative 1/8 minus 12 times negative 1/2, that will be minus negative 6, so plus 6 plus 1. This will cancel out, so negative 2. That will be 7 minus 2, so this is 5. Now for x equals 1/2, that will be 16 times 1/8 minus 12 times 1/2 minus 6 plus 1. This is 2. 2 plus 1 is 3 minus 6, so this is negative 3. Ayan, so 5, 1, negative 3. So step 5, to sketch the graph, we need those ordered pairs. Kailangan natin yung ordered pairs na yan. As well as yung behavior dito sa function na to. Okay? So, naalala po natin, no? Ito yung local max. Ito yung may local max tayo. Tapos dito yung may local mean. Sorry, dapat negative. I forgot the negative sign here. Yan. Tapos dito yung inflection point. Tapos ano nga ba doon sa unang interval? Balikan natin. Increasing concave downward. Increasing concave downward. Increasing concave downward. Tapos dahil local max siya, ibig sabihin magdi-decreasing pero concave downward pa rin. Tapos inflection point, so ibig sabihin decreasing pa rin pero concave upward na. Tapos local minimum siya, kaya ibig sabihin nag-i-increase na pero concave upward pa din. Tama? Okay, yan yung kaninang slide natin. So, kailangan natin ng ating X and Y axis. So, i-plot muna natin pag nag-sketch tayo ng graph yung tatlong critical points. So, yung ordered pair, no? Negative 1/2, positive 5. So, sabihin natin kunwari dito yung negative 1/2. Okay, tapos dito yung 0. Say, nandito yung positive 1/2. Okay. Tapos, kunwari, nandito yung, ay, hindi kaya, no? So, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So, dito po yung negative 1/2, positive 5. Tapos, 0, 1. This is the next critical point, next ordered pair. Tapos, yung 1/2, negative 3 is here. So, yung tatlong points lang yun. Gagalaw na tayo, no? Aandar na. Okay, so negative 1/2, 0, and 1/2. Okay, so bago tayo makarating sa negative 1/2 sa left side niya, it's like this. Increasing pero concave downward. Ay, concave downward, tama. Increasing na concave downward. So, parang pa-rainbow. Tapos, ito naman, pagdating niya sa local, pagkagaling niya sa local maximum, magdi-decrease siya. Tapos, concave downward pa din. Papunta dun sa next critical point. Tapos, from one critical point to the next, ito yung behavior niya. Ito yung inflection point, si 0, no? So, from concave downward, magigita yung concave upward. Pero, tuloy-tuloy pa rin siya magdi-decrease. Okay? Ayan. Tapos, after that, magiging increasing. Tapos, concave upward. Okay? Kaya ito ang local minimum natin. The local minimum value of the function is negative 3. Local lang siya kasi mas may mababa pa sa kanya because of this behavior here. Tapos again, ito naman yung local maximum value. 5 is the local maximum value of the function. Local lang siya kasi because of this behavior of the function, may mas tataas pa sa kanya kay 5. Okay, so that's how we get our answers. Tapos kung inflection point yung tinatanong, the inflection point is represented by ordered pair. So 0, 1 is the inflection point or point of inflection. Okay, so pwede nyo pong picturean. Sana po nagigets. Yan, pwede nyo i-verify sa Desmos kung more or less ay parehas yung graph natin, no? Yan. So for other examples, you can pause this video and try answering this first on your own. Yan, pwede kayong mag-pause muna ng video, tapos kuha kayo ng scratch paper, kunin niyo yung first derivative, critical points, gawa kayo ng table, tapos saka nyo sketch yung graph, no? Okay, so let's start with the first one. Yan, medyo matrabaho lang ng unti, ano? Kasi polynomials yung ginagraph natin, hindi na siya basta linear or quadratic function lang, no? Kaya actually, yung quadratic function, yung parabola, pwede mo rin gamitan yun ng derivatives eh. Kaya lang, magiging isa lang yung critical point mo kasi for a parabola, di ba? Isa lang, it's either you have your local maximum or local minimum or local maximum. So it's either concave upward or concave downward. Ganun lang naman si parabola, yung mga parabolic functions natin. Yun. So, kasi yung opening to the left and to the right, hindi yun function, di ba? Pero nonetheless, parabolic equations ang nire-represent nun. Anyway, so medyo nalibang tayo. Dito tayo sa ating example. Kunin natin yung f prime of x. This will be, this is equal to 1/6 x cubed minus 2x squared plus 10 if we are to rewrite that. So 1/6 times 3 is 3/6. 3/6 is 1/2. So 1/2 x squared minus, for the derivative of this, that will be 4x. Make sure your derivative is correct, ano? Lalo na yung first derivative kasi dyan nakasalala yung mga susunod na steps natin. Okay? Kasi once magkamali ka na dun sa derivative mo, ay magkakamali ka na dun sa iba. No? So yung second derivative naman natin, take note, I'm leaving a space in between. F double prime of x is 1/2 times 2 is 1. So x na lang minus 4. Yan. So to get the next, to go to the next step, we get the critical points. Kunin ko po yung pen. Ibahin ko yung color. Say, I have purple naman. Okay. So if we equate this to 0, common factor here is x. So we have here 1/2 x minus 4. Yan. So this is equal to 0 if x here equals 0 and if 1/2 x or x over 2 equals 4. Which means x here equals, if you cross multiply this, x equals 8. So nakakadalawa ka ng critical points for the first derivative. And now for your second derivative, equating this to 0 means x equals 4. So tatlo yung ating critical points, si 0, si 4, tsaka si 8. So i-plot natin sila sa real number line. 0 here, tapos we have a 4, and then an 8. Tapos gawa tayo ng ating table of values, no? Kailangan natin yung mga interval. So we have x less than 0. Then we have x equals 0. Tapos between 0 and 4. Then we have x equals 4. And then we have between 4 and 8. We have x equals 8. And then we have x greater than 8. Yan. Tapos for the next column, we have f prime of x. Next column will be f double prime of x. The last column will be our remark. Okay, so ang critical points natin, let's change the color of our pen. See, so yellow naman tayo. For the first derivative, the zeros are 0 and 8. 0, tsaka kay 8. Tapos sa second derivative naman, ang 0 niya ay x equals 4. Ito. Dapat pala may lines, ano, para hindi tayo malito. Anyway, so ito yung possible na inflection point, yung na kay 4, tapos si 0 tsaka si 8, isa sa kanila, local mean or local max. No? So less than 0, kunin natin yung si negative 1. Yan. Tapos dito sa 0 to 4, kunin natin si 1. Dito kunin natin si 5, then si 9. Anyway, kunin natin ibang color para mas malinaw. So less than 0, negative 1. So if x is negative 1, balikan natin ito yung f prime of x. Dito tayo focus. If x is negative 1, this will be 1/2 minus negative 4. Minus negative, that will be positive 4. So 1/2 plus 4, so that means it's positive. Okay. Tapos between 0 and 4, tapos x equals 4 and between 4 and 8, we expect the sign of f prime of x to be the same. So, dun ka na lang kay x equals 4 para tipid, no? So, when x equals 4, ito tayo kay f prime, no? So, 16 over 2 is 8. 8 minus 16. Kasi 4 times 4. So, 8 minus 16 is negative. Ayun. So, positive tapos negative. Minsan ang ginagawang style ng mga estudyante, tinitingnan yung second derivative para hindi na nila i-worry ito. Para ito kagad yung titingnan mo kung local mean or local max. Second derivative test. So, when x is 0, di ba? 0 minus 4, dito ka tumingin, is negative. O di ba kapag negative na ganon ay concave downward. So, local maximum siya. Kaya tama lang na mag-increase muna bago mag-decrease after ng x equals 0. Kaya alam na natin na dapat negative yung kasunod ni 0, yung sa baba niya. Kasunod na interval. Okay? Kasi ano to di ba? By second derivative test, this has a relative or local maximum. So, pagka kumukuha tayo ng local max, no, pwede kang gumamit ng first derivative or second derivative, pero dapat zero siya ng first derivative. Zero siya ng first derivative. So, same as ito, gamitan natin ng shortcut. X equals 8. So, if x equals 8 here, 8 minus 4 is positive. Take note, we're not writing a numerical value here, no? Yung mga sign lang. So, 0, positive. Ibig sabihin, dito ay concave upward. Kaya local minimum. Diba? So, ibig sabihin, magdi-decrease muna, then mag-i-increase. Kaya dito, expected na natin na positive siya. Ayan. Tapos ito, dapat pare-pareho rin yung sign nito kasi otherwise, dapat may zero in between. So, this is negative also. This is negative also. Tapos, since may positive ka na doon, for sure, this should be positive. Otherwise, kung negative to, dapat may zero dapat in between. So, again, this should be positive. So, pare-pareho to. Kasi yun yung nakasingit na zero. Kaya siya magkaiba. This is your inflection point. Tapos ito, increasing and then increasing. Tapos concave downward. So, paano yun? It's like pag ganyan. Tapos ito 0, negative. Kaya ayun, sabi natin, function f of x has a local maximum value. Local max. Parang katulad din nung kanina, no? Tapos negative, negative. So, decreasing. Tapos concave downward. Decreasing na concave downward. Paano yun? Paano nga siya? Like this. Tapos negative, decreasing pa din. Tapos concave upward na. Decreasing pero concave upward. It's like this. Excuse me. Tapos dito, local minimum. So f of x has a local minimum. Okay. Tapos dito naman, increasing, tapos concave upward. Increasing, tapos concave upward. It's like this. Yan. Tapos gawa tayo ng table of values for the critical points. Kay x equals 0, 4, and 8. This time, ang kailangan natin yung f of x. Yung original function na, wag na po yung derivative. Kasi ipa-plot natin, no? Kailangan natin i-plot yung mga points. Diba? Yan yung mga ordered pairs na magre-represent, no? When x equals 0, that would be 0 minus 0 plus 10. So this is 10. When x equals 4, 4 cube over 6 minus 16 times 2 is 32 minus 32 plus 10. Yan, you can verify that the answer will be negative 34 over 3. When x equals 8, you can verify, can double check that the answer is negative 98 over 3. This is actually negative 11 and 1/3. This is actually negative 32 and 2/3. Yan. Okay. You can verify your answers using your calculator. Okay, tinitingnan po. You can pause this video if you want to verify your answers. Okay. So tingnan na po natin yung graph niya, no? Kailangan po natin yung mga ating critical points again. Those are yung x na 0, 4, 8. Nakuha nating answer dito ay 10. Tapos dito ay si negative 34 over 3. Tapos si negative 98 over 3. Yan. Medyo kailangan natin ng mataas pala, no? Kasi negative 32 over negative 32 and 2/3. This is 2. This is negative 11 and 1/3. May negative tayo na mababa, no? So kailangan mag-allot tayo ng mga malaking space doon sa baba. Naku. Tapos dito. Ay, kulang pala. Dapat pala tinaas ko pa. Taas ko pa. Sorry. Baka kulangin tayo ng space sa baba. So, meron tayo dito 0. Tapos, say, nandito yung nandito na lang si 4. Nandito si 8. Okay, tapos dito si 10. Kung nandito si negative 10, somewhere here yung tapos dito yung negative 20. Ito yung negative 30. So, negative 11 and 1/3 ay so 0 and 0, 10 is here. Tapos 4, negative 11, 1/3 is somewhere here. Tapos yung 8 naman, lampas dito. Ng kaunti, ano, ayan. Okay. So, sketch lang naman yung graph, no? Pwede nyo i-check using the Desmos, no? So, ano nga yung nakuha nating mga behavior nga kanina? Pwede nating tingnan ulit sa ating table. Yung sa x less than 0, we have an increasing concave downward. Tapos, x equals 0. Tapos, between 0 to 4, ang behavior natin, decreasing pa din. Concave downward. Tapos, between 4 to 8, ang behavior niya na decreasing pa rin pero concave upward na. Tapos, paglampas niya sa 8, increasing pero concave upward pa rin. Okay, so dapat umaayon yung ordered pairs na nakuha natin. Dapat umaayon dun kasi otherwise, sabihin may mali somewhere. Bawa dito. Tapos kunwari yung next na critical point, instead of this, nandito siya. Parang, oops, teka, dapat decreasing eh, di ba? So anyway, for x less than 0, di ba ito yun? So dapat from left to right yung graph, no? So decreasing, increasing, tapos concave downward. So it's like this. Yan. Although ibig sabihin papuntang negative infinity, pa-decreasing tayo, no? Pero pag from here to here, di ba laging pag nag-i-interpret tayo ng graph from left to right. Okay, so increasing siya pero concave downward. Tapos from here to the next critical point, decreasing concave downward pa din. Sorry for danginig. Tas decreasing pero concave upward na. That's why this is our inflection point. Tapos from here, increasing, tas concave upward. Ay, sorry, for the gap should be like this. Gawin natin mas smooth. Ayan. So ito yung local minimum value of the function, the negative 32 and 2/3. That's the local minimum value of the function. The local maximum value of the function is positive 10. And the inflection point represented by the ordered pair for negative 11 and 1/3. Okay, so that's it. That's how we graph the first one. Ayan. This one, I'm leaving this to you for your exercise. Ayan. Now let's have our time for questions. For question 1, on what interval is the function below increasing? You may pause the video if you want to answer this first on your scratch paper. Yan, pero pagka ganito po, di ba, para pag increasing, kailangan natin yung kailan positive yung first derivative. So, first derivative is 3x squared plus 6. So, a matter of equating this to greater than 0. Okay? So, 3x squared is greater than negative 6. So, ibig sabihin, dividing both sides by 3, x squared is greater than negative 2. Correct? So, ibig sabihin, di ba yung x squared lagi naman siyang greater than or equal to 0? Kung ang minimum value ng x squared ay 0, di lagi siyang greater than negative 2. Kasi negative 2. So, that means this is always positive. So, for all real numbers. Ang corny naman ito. Yan. Sabihin, lagi siyang increasing for all real numbers. On what interval is the graph of the function below concave upward? So, nakuha natin yung first derivative kanina, 3x squared plus 6. So, yung kanya namang second derivative will be 6x. Equate this to positive, no? So, that means dividing both sides by 6. So, x is greater than 0. So, ang answer natin, x greater than 0. Okay, so now let's take a look at this one. What are the local maximum value of the function below? Diba, yun yung 3x squared, yung first derivative pa rin, plus 6. Equate natin sa 0. Pero, diba, yan yung 3x squared equals negative 6. Or x squared equals, pag dinivide sa 3, negative 2. And we don't have a solution for this. So, that means, wala tayong critical point for the first derivative. Medyo corny pala itong example na napili ko. So, there's none. Okay? Pero kung naging minus to, magkakaroon. Kasi kung minus 6, it should be square root positive and negative square root of 2. So, ganun din yung local minimum. Mawawala na kasi wala tayong critical point. So, walang local mean tsaka local max. Yan. Sorry naman sa ating example. Yan. At least nakita natin na possible pala yun na wala. No? Pwede din naman. So, what about the inflection point? No? So, inflection point, again, we equate yung first derivative, 3x squared plus 6. Second derivative is 6x. We equate this to 0. So, x equals 0 is a possible inflection point. At alam natin magiging inflection point siya kasi for less than 0, concave downward. Greater than 0, concave upward. Okay, so 0. Tapos ang kapartner niya, when x is 0, this is 0. Yan, so origin. The origin is your inflection point. Okay, so ayun po. We got at least 3 out of 5. Yan. So, meron pa tayong mga practice exercises. Kung nabitin kayo dyan, please answer the practice exercises. Please, please, please. That will be on Thursday. Yan. Para makatulong po sa ating summative test on next Thursday. Okay. Ayan. So, to end our presentation, success is the maximum utilization of the ability that you have. Yan, with that, yan, I want to say namimiss ko na kayo, pero I just wish that you're okay. Yan, isang mahigpit na yakap sa inyong lahat. God bless you 2MM.